Hello, hi. This is Shantan Riza, and today we're going to talk about chapter 4 about Sejarah, more importantly 4.1. Okay. And we're just going to go through it very quickly. So 4.1, you have to know this is what are we learning about in 4.1? For a quick recap on chapter 1, Bab 1 and Sejarah, you were learning about different types of government systems. Then you moved on to we were learning from history, like from Malacca, from Alam Melayu, from when we were colonized by the British, penjajahan British. And then on chapter 2, we were learning about the gerakan nationalism. We learned about the meanings of it and in different places. Example, nationalism started in Barat. So over here, this is the west side, and then it moved on to countries in Asia, then Southeast Asia, then we come to Malaysia. Then over on chapter 3, we started talking about the world wars, World War One and World War Two, and then eventually the real main point of chapter 3 was the incoming of the Japanese invasion towards our country, Tanah Melayu. Not Malaysia, not yet. This was called as Malaya back then. Okay. So in chapter 3, we know that in the end, the Japanese had surrendered. Mereka menyerah kalah, that is the word you use. In Chinese, it's quite obvious. 认 and kalah 是输, so 认输, they surrendered. They surrendered themselves after, the Americans, they dropped their bombs. Little Boy and Fat Man. Interesting names indeed. And this is where we come over to chapter 4.1, which is called 4.1 British Military Administration. Okay. Military Administration. Okay, if there's any words you don't know, let's start. Example, the word administration, what does that even mean? Administration is basically pentadbiran, which I think more people are familiar with the BM word, which is like the governance of how they take care of everything, okay? So this is otherwise known as BMA. Okay? And what are we trying to learn? So what happened was, after World War II, and after the Japanese surrendered, the British people were trying to obviously take back Malaya, take it back after it had its temporary independence from the Japanese, and they were trying to take it back. How? Using their BMA, the British Military Administration, or else known in the Malay words Pentadbiran Tentera British. Okay, so if you look on your textbook, page 94, they give you a slight definition. So they give you a timeline. Okay, this happened on the 12th of September 1945, where the Japanese surrendered. Si menyerah kalah. Okay, there we go. Now BMA is merupakan pentadbiran tentera yang diletakkan di bawah arahan Lord Mountbatten. Okay, a guy called Lord Mountbatten. Okay, and he was the leader for whatever Asia Tenggara perancang hak ehwal awam di Tanah Melayu dilakukan oleh Timbalan Ketua Pengawal Hak Ehwal Awam Brigadier General H.C. Whelan. These names are all right. They are gonna come out in objective questions, not so much in structures. You can look out for objectives. Okay, but here comes the main point. So what was the point on forming BMA? It was to, number one, we have many reasons. So the first reason was to mengembalikan kestabilan dan keamanan. It was trying to return the stability and the peace in Tanah Melayu. The second reason was to memulih kepercayaan rakyat. The British wanted to give back, not really repair, but memulih is often used with repair, which is like to get back, okay, the kepercayaan, the trust of the people of Malaya. Okay, so first let's talk about the mengembalikan kestabilan dan keamanan. The first thing you must know is that after everything happened in the Japanese, after the Japanese just suddenly left, it left our country in a serious condition where it was incredibly chaotic without a firm government to take over. So BMA berusaha untuk memulih keamanan dan kestabilan dengan membubarkan pasukan MPAJ. MPAJ, if you don't remember this was the Malayan Party. Hold up. Okay, I found the page. It was the Malayan People Anti-Japanese Army, right, led by this man over here, Limbo Seng. Okay, so membubarkan, they were trying to shut, quote unquote, you can think of it as if they're trying to shut it down. Why? BMA mengarahkan senjata yang diberikan kepada mereka, that was kepada mereka semasa pendudukan Jepun, dikembalikan. Okay, what was happening here? Why is the BMA trying to shut down, trying to stop, okay? Stop membubarkan the MPAJ, the Malayan People Anti-Japanese Army, because one, you have to know their connection. The connection between these two, you learn this in chapter 3, is that during the Japanese invasion, whatever you want to call it, the colonization of the Japanese, the BMA had lended some weapons to MPAJ so that they could fight against the Japanese. And what they did was, they did something called perang guerrilla, which is like a hit and run. They would attack and then they would run to the forest. And they used, through the British's help, they did that. Now, what's happening now is that during the 2 weeks of where the Tanah Melayu was completely ungoverned by external governments, by different countries, they were just left free on their own, the MPAJ took it upon themselves to kind of take over Tanah Malaya, which was not a good call, and they had a lot of weapons. So the BMA are trying to stop this because they kind of caused the situation to become even worse. Alright? And it didn't help that because they were so well trained in perang guerrilla, it was hard to catch these people because they would fight and they would run. It's a hit and run. So the BMA were trying to mengembalikan, which means to return. They want, over here. They want the weapons that were given to MPAJ semasa pendudukan Jepun to dikembalikan, to be returned. However, do you think any of this succeeded? Absolutely not. Alright, gagal. That means it failed. You can write over here, BMA gagal mengumpulkan semula senjata tersebut. They did not succeed in getting back their weapons, and moreover, the BMA they also failed in another thing. Gagal membanteras kegiatan jenayah, keganasan, kongsi gelap dan masalah ketegangan kaum. So think of it here. MPAJ might be one of the factors that are causing the country to be incredibly unstable and not harmonized. But while the BMA were trying to please give me back my weapons, untuk mengarahkan MPAJ untuk senjata yang diberikan kepada mereka dikembalikan, what other issues were causing the ketidakstabilan dan ketidakamanan in our country was that, number one, they failed to membanteras and to shut down kegiatan jenayah meaning crimes, and keganasan violence, kongsi gelap, blackmail dan masalah ketegangan kaum, all of the tension between the different races. Because remember, the Japanese came over here, they were pretty racist as well, to the Chinese, to the Malays, especially to the Chinese, because, well, they hate the Communist Party. And it didn't help that obviously there was going to be a bias once the Japanese were gone to who should be in power in Tanah Malaya. So all you can know is that BMA, kind of a failure, but let's see how they did on their second mission, to memulih kepercayaan rakyat. It should be a no-brainer that once they failed to return the stability of Malaya, tanah Melayu, it's obvious that they obviously did not earn back the trust of the people there. But let's see, rakyat mengalami kesukaran hidup di bawah pemerintahan Jepun. This is a no-brainer. The people who lived during the colonization of Japan had suffered miserable lives. Bekalan makanan dan obatan sukar didapati. Sekiranya ada bekalan tersebut, harganya pula melambung tinggi. Okay, for everyone's BM who's not that strong, they're saying that the food sources and medicine were hard to be obtained, and if there were resources of the sorts like food or medicine, the price would melambung tinggi. It will go up insane. It will increase. It would skyrocket. Wabak penyakit semakin merebak, terutamanya penyakit beri-beri yang disebabkan oleh kekurangan zat makanan. Beri-beri is caused by a lack of nutrients, and it is directly related because see, this is not okay. See, you don't have enough food, okay, and thus people are sick. The connection you can make is that people are now sick, and when they're sick they need medicine, but again you don't have the medicine to give to the people. And let's say sekiranya, if, okay, that's what it means, there were food resources out there, the prices for them were ridiculously high that people could not afford. Learning a little bit of economy, why were they high? Because the quantity and the demand. There was very little amount of medicine and food that could be distributed to the people, and thus the demand was extremely high, causing the prices to go up. Okay, so they say harganya melambung tinggi. You have to use the word lambung, melambung tinggi. Okay, then you know that people were getting sick, and they say wabak penyakit semakin merebak. As there was a lack of food and lack of medicine, there were just more and more people getting sick. Wabak penyakit, okay, semakin merebak. It kept spreading, and terutamanya penyakit beri-beri. And they're telling you what kind of disease was spreading. It was penyakit beri-beri that is caused by a lack of nutrients, which is a full circle to the point we made over here, the lack of food. So, selain itu, kebuluran berlaku di kebanyakan tempat. Kebuluran means unemployment. No surprise, everyone's sick, everyone can't work, everyone's hungry, everyone's dying. There are no jobs for you, man. No one is paying you. Everyone's just trying to stay alive at this point. Rakyat juga tidak mempunyai wang untuk membeli makanan manakala kegiatan menyorok barang, amalan rasuah, peras ugut dan pasar gelap di Kuala Lumpur menjadi semakin tidak terkawal. Okay, that was a lot of words. See, the people did not have enough money to buy food. See? Dang. And then, manakala kegiatan menyorok barang, that means you're hoarding items. The cases of rasuah, that means rasuah directly translated is, I believe it's rasuah that means hold up, rasuah, corruption. There we go, I got it. Corruption, peras ugut, that means you threaten people, and the black market in Kuala Lumpur became seriously uncontrolled. So masa ini berakar umbi sehingga gagal dibanteras oleh BMA. This issue was incredibly serious, and it became worse after the BMA failed to stop any of this, as we stated over here. Then we come on to the next point. Rakyat yang hidup dalam penderitaan dan kesengsaraan, it means they live in this kind of misery akibat pemerintahan Jepun, berharap dapat diselamatkan oleh pentadbiran BMA. What happened was the people that were living in this kind of misery were hoping that the Japanese, the Japanese rule would come back. Okay, they were hoping for something else, just not the BMA. The BMA telah mengambil alih pentadbiran tanah Melayu bagi mengembalikan kepercayaan rakyat supaya menyokong kepulangan British di negara ini. So the BMA was formed so that the people would return their trust, right? At the same time, it was so that, well, obviously, if they want to return their trust, the British just want to come back to our country. That's why they say mengembalikan, menyokong, so that the people, the rakyat, okay, this is the rakyat, they will sokong, menyokong They'll be like, yay, I want the return, the kepulangan of the British in my country. But obviously that did not happen. As you can see later, they say that BMA juga berusaha untuk memulihkan kerosakan infrastruktur akibat bencana peperangan. So what did the British try to do when they failed to maintain the peace, to bring back the peace and the stability of the country? They tried doing things like fixing the infrastructure, memulihkan, there you go, repair, that's where the word comes from, memulihkan, repair, kerosakan, infrastructure. What is infrastructure? You can think of it like hospitals, schools, stuff like that. Infrastructure, okay. Akibat bencana peperangan, from the Japanese. This is caused by none other than the Japanese, okay? So, do we think any of this worked? Absolutely not. And we move on where they show you a jadwal, because guess what? After the Japanese left, they left the country, left Tanah Melayu in extreme inflation. You can read this up yourself, but all you need to know is that the country was damn poor and the inflation was not helping. So British berharap pemulihan sosioekonomi akan memulihkan kepercayaan rakyat. They were hoping that from all of their help over here, it would help the people to start supporting, menyokong kepulangan British. However, British juga berusaha untuk memulihkan ladang getah, lubang biji timah, serta membagi prasarana dan kemudahan kesihatan yang dimusnahkan oleh tentera Jepun. Jepun destroyed a lot of stuff listed over here, and they're trying to fix that. They're trying to repair that. Honestly, the keyword here is memulih. I'm just gonna highlight this over here. They were trying to repair a lot of broken things, but some things broken cannot be fixed. Namun begitu, BMA menghadapi kesukaran untuk membawa masuk jentera, alat ganti, mesin dan teknologi yang menyebabkan sosioekonomi sukar dipulihkan. They were having trouble trying to bring in the machines that were going to help to solve this issue. Let's be honest here, you have to focus on the word that when you write these points, you should always write the word berusaha, both for your understanding and for the exam. Because berusaha means you try really hard, okay, really hard. But trying doesn't actually equal doing it, does it? Doesn't mean that you actually do it successfully. And that is how you can look at all of the actions on BMA. The BMA are trying really hard to do this and to do that, but in the end, do they succeed? Absolutely not. Walaupun BMA berusaha untuk memulihkan kekacauan, rakyat hampa dengan ketidakupayaan BMA menangani masalah yang dihadapi mereka. The people were absolutely disappointed because they could tell that the BMA ketidakupayaan had no ability. Upayaan is ability to help solve their issues, menangani masalah, their problems. Kegagalan pentadbiran British memberikan kesedaran kepada kita supaya sentiasa bersikap waspada dan tidak mudah mempercayai kuasa asing. So what is that they're trying to tell you is that the people were realizing this is bullcrap, this is dumb. They realized, obviously, the British, they are trying their very best, but again, it's not helping. The country is still going through extreme pain. As you can see, rakyat hidup dalam kesengsaraan. They were living in misery, okay? People were dying left and right from sickness, and the BMA, the British military administration was not doing their job. How they're trying to tell you that then we as Malaysians should always be careful and not easily believe in the outside forces, outside powers. Hal ini jelas berlaku apabila BMA gagal melaksanakan tugasnya ketika penduduk tempatan mengharapkan bantuan. In the end, did the BMA do their job? Absolutely not. They could not help anyone. Thus, do you think that BMA was something that the people of Malaya wanted? Absolutely not. And that is what we're going to learn in 4.2, where the people of Malaya were like, hell no, I don't like your BMA. That is what we're going to learn in 4.2, where BMA was demolished. because obviously the people were not happy with the BMA being over here like, we're trying to help you, and they're like, nah bro, you're not. And that is all of this for 4.1. Thank you so much. I will see you for 4.2.